Hello, 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 everybody. How are we doing? Thank you so much for tuning in to MG Live. And you see, I am not alone tonight. I'm going to introduce my guests in just 2 seconds. But if you would not mind, my replay people, you know how we do. Thank you for being here. Take 2 seconds and please do click that share button. And I would be so appreciative if you would just share this out to your platforms and let's get as many eyeballs on this as we can. If you are live with us, drop us a note in the chat. Let us know you're in the building. And I'm just waiting on one more guest. Hopefully her technical difficulties will resolve themselves. But I have with me tonight Derek Smith, and I have Munira Marshall, and we're waiting for Munira's video to come on and all that stuff. So Moo, we can't see you just yet, if you can hear me, but you might need to go from your phone. I don't know, possibly. I don't know what's going on, but thank you so much, everyone. Come on in, come on in, come on in. If you are joining us live, just give me 30 more seconds to a minute for some of our live people to join. And if you see me looking off to the side, it is because I am making sure that this live is on all of the things and in all of the places. So if you're tuning in on Facebook, if you're tuning in on YouTube, if you're tuning in on my website, and tonight I am trying something a little bit different. I am going to Instagram as well. So hopefully you are joining me from one of those many platforms. And okay, Moon, we still can't see you, but we're going to go ahead and get started, just in the interest of time. Again, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Maya Gatewood. You are on MG Live. I really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. For those who do not know me, I never take for granted that people know who I am, but I am Maya Gatewood. This is my live web series where I talk about various topics, leveling up, professional, personal. There she is. Hold on, Mo. I got you coming in. And I am a marketing manager in my 9 to 5. I am, Lord, what else do I do? I am the owner of Empress Design and Graphics. I am the creator of MDGTs, and I am wearing my merch tonight. And if you would like to shop the video, you can certainly do that. There will be a link that is popping up on your screen, hopefully. And you can go ahead and buy my Buy Black t-shirt because we want to support Black-owned businesses. I also have my Dope Black Woman period crop sweatshirt that, you know, if you would like to peruse. And listen, just in time for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it is October, as we know, and I have some special merch for you all. So I've got this Breast Cancer Got Knocked Out t-shirt for all my cancer survivors and anyone who is supporting a breast cancer patient right now. You can grab these things. I have another one here, I Beat Breast Cancer. So please do click on these links and grab your merch. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guests and give them a chance to address you all and speak to you. So without further ado, Derek and Munira, I'm going to hand it over to you. Derek, why don't you start us off? Let the people know where they can find you, all the things. Go for it. So I'm not hearing your audio, Derek. Are you, Moo?
No. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yes. I think the earbuds might be causing us some issues tonight. Not yet. Not yet. Let me see if I can hide you and bring you back. Moo, do you want to let the people know where they can find you and all the things while we're waiting for that audio to connect?
Sure. So, hi, everybody. So, I was having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I kind of logged in here a little bit, a little bit late. So, please forgive me. You know, this is the working woman, mother, wife, all of those great things. So, who I am first, I'm Munira Marshall. I am an educator. I work at Uncommon Schools North Star Academy as a ninth grade academy leader, which is basically assistant principal to one of our high schools. I am a mom of two, an amazing 15-year-old, a amazing busy almost 2-year-old. Watch out for those terrible twos. I am a high school cheerleading coach. I am in my 13th year, 14th year coaching.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's time to retire. I am a member of Bethlehem Judah Christian Fellowship. And yeah, that's pretty much about me. You can follow me on Instagram. I am moo.evolve. No, actually, I am .moo_evolve. And Munir Marshall on Facebook.
Why, thank you. And I've got our social handles already pulled up and scrolling across the screen. So have no fear, people. Derek, hopefully your audio is back. Now. We're having technical difficulties, folks. Just bear with us.
Derek, there might be like a little icon of a microphone on your screen. Click that if it's, oh, I see mine.
Oh, I think
At the bottom.
Let me see. Hi, Kodiak. He said, "What's up, big bro?" He's gonna go out and come back in. So have no fear. But listen, while Derek is coming back, we are talking about battling burnout. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. And I needed these amazing people to help me with this discussion.
Okay, can you hear
Derek,
me?
we hear you. Let
All
the
right.
people know
Woo!
who you are and where they can find you and all the things.
And he is in.
Let's go. It was working fine prior to getting on.
I know. I don't know what's going on. It's all good.
Well, my name is Derek Smith. For profession 9 to 5, I work in health administration. And for business wise, I'm a life coach, author, husband, father, all of the above, all the things. And of course, student as well, learning and growing through life, just like all the rest of us. One thing that I always tell people is that I don't lead from a place of being perfect. I lead from a place of understanding that I am imperfect, but reaching back to help those to learn the lessons that I have learned. Yeah, I'm a girl dad, 3 girls, wife. My wife is a licensed clinical therapist and on her way to become a doctor. And those
Yes,
are, all
Tashina,
things.
love that. Awesome.
And again,
So
thank you
as you
Mike,
can,
for the opportunity.
yeah, of course. Derek left a nice little insightful comment on one of our last lives, and I was like, yeah, we got to have Derek on.
Oh my God. That last live took me,
That thing
like, it was like
was
he was speaking directly into
on point.
what was happening in my life in that moment. Like, ooh, it's a few things. I wrote a few things down. Like, oh, I don't even want to get into it because we about to change the whole. That's all I'm gonna say. It was good.
Thank
Oh
you.
my
To God be all the
gosh.
glory, I tell you. When the God has a way of teaching you lessons, and when you don't learn them, we will always circle back to them again. And then once you
Mhm.
have learned them, He'll still bring you back again to make sure that you still got the lesson. So,
Absolutely. He'd be like, hello, are you listening?
right.
Because we hard
Paul,
headed.
are you there?
We hard headed for real. But thank you all for joining us. Let's get right into this discussion. Tonight, we are talking about battling burnout. You know that you are burnt out at work. You know you've been burnt out at home. You've experienced this. This is something that we have all had a touch point at some point in our lives, being able to or not being able to handle deadlines, feeling overwhelmed, being disorganized. Lots of moving parts going on, right? All 3 of us work, case in point, we're coming right from work, hopping on here. These 2 have families. I'm single and I have a beautiful fur baby here. So if you hear him snoring in the background, that's what that is.
I already heard him. I already heard him.
Oh, you did hear him?
I did.
I'm probably like, what is that noise? What's going on back there? That is him. He snores like a grown man. But as you can see, we have a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people in our lives to coordinate with and all the things, right? And so if you are not conscious of this and you're not taking care of yourself and you're not self-aware, you will experience burnout. It's not even that you can or might, you're going to experience burnout. And so we're going to have a real casual conversation. If you have questions, please do drop them in the chat. We're going to address them throughout the discussion. If you have comments that you want to make, points that you want to make, we want to make this interactive. Please participate with us. Please bounce questions off of each other in the chat. We really do appreciate that. But we're just going to like put forth a couple of questions to each other. And we're just going to kind of go off the cuff like that. And so if it's cool, I would like to pose the first question to you, Derek. How can I establish boundaries to protect my mental and emotional well-being? Big one.
we're just gonna jump right in, right?
Yeah, but we're gonna go right there.
I think honestly, one thing we have to be 100% clear on is what is our mental and emotional well-being in that moment. And I think we have to accept the fact that it does change. Like we have this thing in our minds where there has to be this consistency, like you're the same all the time. But our body absorb responses, they absorb trauma and things that happen to us. So how we respond to those things, it changes. When you are at maximum capacity for patience, you might be able to handle things in a responsible manner. And then sometimes, you might be a little low because most of us are constantly giving, we're constantly outputting. And unfortunately, a lot of times we're not as conscious when our emotional well being or our emotional gas tank, like I like to call it, when it's on empty. In our cars, when our tank is low, it gives us an indicator. It tells us, you have 30 miles until empty. The light comes on and all of these things. And if you keep pushing beyond those indicators, the car will shut off or it won't work. Unfortunately, we don't pay attention to our emotional indicators that are in place to tell us when we are running low. So I think one key thing is that we have to be clear on what the current state is and listen to those indicators. I think from a professional standpoint, we have to be honest about our availability when it comes to that emotional piece, because we love to overcommit, but we don't have the capacity to support the commitment. So
we are chuckling because we have many career and job related conversations, and you just like hitting the nail on the head with that comment right there. Oh my gosh.
So I think, professionally, when it comes to ensuring and protecting, that well-being, it is being honest and taking a retrospective look from within to say, what can I take on? What can't I take on? I think that plays a huge factor because we all want to be successful. And somewhere along the lines, we've developed this understanding that if we miss an opportunity, we'll miss the chance to elevate or to excel.
Yep. Totally agree. Munir, you like you got a burning comment on your heart tonight.
Not even a comment. I was actually writing a couple things down as Derek was talking because a lot of things resonated. I didn't know where you were going to go with this question. So I was just like, I need to hear this because although we are answering these questions, we are also learning from our own the questions and our responses. But I think there were like three things that really resonated with me the most was something that you said was where our body absorbs trauma and changes to understand like what are our mental and emotional, what is our well-being. For me, I think this I started to become more aware of it actually just recently after having my son. And so, although like women go through giving birth, and it's not so much of the trauma, but the changes. And so now that I'm older, and after that, after I've had my first child, I was a lot younger. I had more energy. I was able to do so many things and accomplish things, and I wanted to do more. But now, after having my son, it's like, wait a minute, I'm not the same person that I was when I was 22, having him at 34, soon to be 35. So it was just me understanding like the changes within myself, what I can manage, what I can deal with in terms of my mental and emotional well-being. It was another thing that you mentioned around not being conscious of these things, which I said I'm just now becoming more aware of it, and then being honest with my availability. That is the struggle, and I think that is my current struggle right now, because I was more available if years ago, months ago, that I'm thinking that I can still be available and manage all of these things, when really I'm like, I cannot. Like
Yeah.
there are some things that I cannot sacrifice. There are some things that I will not sacrifice. And there may be some that I can. But also it's like I'm learning how to prioritize what is first priority. But the struggle, and I'll name this, the struggle is everybody's not respecting that availability.
Thank you.
That's a
They're
whole
not
nother.
respecting it because they're so used to what you were and what you were able to do and what you could do, that now when the changes come, or I have to make shifts and sacrifice or prioritize, you're not respecting that. And so for me, you're not even respecting my well-being. And so when I sacrifice this, am I really respecting mine because I'm giving so much more to you?
Mm,
So I mean, it was just, yeah, you was
wow.
flowing. And I was just like, ooh, this just brought me to a place that this is where I am.
You must have read literally
Whew.
my next bullet point of notes that I have here for that question. I literally wrote here: communicate your boundaries and respect your reasons for establishing them. And
Yes.
I think we have to. I want to push the thinking on that. Your boundaries are not for so much for other people to respect them. It's for you to respect the boundaries that you
Mm,
put in place, because that
oh my
those are
God.
your parameters.
Yeah.
Those are your parameters.
Yeah.
And this ties into what we talked about before with that other post, and being okay with letting things go, you know, as
Mm.
you elevate and life change. I think we have to give, we look at goodbyes as such a bad thing.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
when we make and I literally did a post today. I said, our exits are just as important as our entrances. And I began to just explain in that in that caption that sometimes we really do have to let things go. Like every exit is not personal. It isn't. And sometimes people, because people are so used to it, and for whatever reason, because we also downplay as people the importance of the role that we play in their lives. We don't really see ourselves as being as important to
Mm,
some people as we might be. And maybe that's the result of them not expressing your importance in their life. Sometimes it may be just you not necessarily knowing your worth and thinking that you're here, but everybody sees you here. I don't know about anybody else, but I have struggled with that for many years, to realize that, yo, I'm dope. I'm dope in real life. I'm dope in my lane, and so are you, and so are you, and so is the next person. Everybody that's watching this, we are all dope in our own lanes. But this is where the spiritual aspect comes in. The enemy will trick us out of our inheritance, out of creating our legacy, by not always the things that people are doing, but what we believe to be true of ourselves. So it's that whole respect factor for our boundaries. I'm coming to realize it's not for me to get you to understand why I have this boundary. If I communicate it to you and say, this is where I am with things, either we have to be okay with parting ways, or
mm,
making exits, or see you when I see you, and it doesn't have to be bad, or we can adjust and figure out a different way, because like you said, when you were in your 20s, your availability was totally different than what it is now, and that's just life.
Yeah.
That's life. But people are harboring and dealing with things from places of abandonment. And when we walk out of their lives, especially when you have a good heart and people realize that you are a person of good intentions, you walking out of their life does more damage than anything.
Oh my gosh. That is like so true. Like, I think for me, that's something that I struggled with is the justification part of feeling like the answer, that no is not just the answer. The answer can be no. And I don't need to explain or add on to that. Um, that took me a very long time because I just felt like I need to give you extra context because I need you to understand, because I need you to not be defensive, or I need you to be accepting of this boundary versus me just putting it out there. And then the other thing that you said was about the respect part is like, no, you need to respect the boundary that you set. And that's probably like the hardest part for me is being like, oh, okay, I know I said I wasn't gonna do this, but I know I said I wasn't gonna work past 5:30, but I know I said I wasn't gonna put another thing on my plate, but I hate to say no, or I hate to see disappointment in that person's eyes, or whatever the case may be. For you, it's really hard to stick to your own guns on that. Well, for me, it was hard for me to like stick to my own guns on that and just be like, nope, Maya, you said close the laptop. You said nope, walk away, don't say another word. Like it's hard. So what are like we're talking about how can we establish those boundaries? I think one of the things is sticking to your guns, as uncomfortable. And trust me, I've been there, y'all. I have been there where you put your word out, but your word really needs to be your bond. You said what you said, and that's it. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Also, how can you establish those boundaries is understand and realize that everybody's not going to go with it. And so what I like to always say is be proactive when you encounter those type of situations and or individuals' personalities, something you already know you're going to do. Because everybody's not just going to be like, oh, that's great that you're not going to work past 5:30. Oh, that's great that you can't take gym to soccer practice tonight. Like everybody's not going to be on board with your decisions. So what are you proactively going to do in that when you encounter that situation or that individual? Are you going to walk away? Are you going to, and I've said this in a previous live, is just have some like canned off the shelf responses that because you know what your triggers are. Hopefully you do know what your triggers are, and you know how you're already going to respond when you're affronted with that, and it's not like a surprise when you encounter that sort of roadblock that's going to come up.
Agreed,
So
100. I think the key.
sorry, I was reading a comment. Kodiak said, my wife literally told me about having boundaries on my time today. Well, see, this is very timely.
Look at that. Look at
Go
that.
ahead, Derek. What were you saying?
Well, like you said, I think that one of the key factors is communicating those boundaries. So now, when you have to put them in place, it's not out of left field.
Yeah.
You've already communicated that, and yet, like you said, it is hard because it's hard for us to respect our own boundaries. That's not easy. We don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to have people upset. But it's kind of like the more you practice it, it becomes second nature, and then people grow to say, well, after 5 o'clock, Maya's going to close that laptop, so it's 4:45. So whatever we need to do, Manira, okay, Manira at 7 o'clock, she ain't seeing no client after that. Like, so we need to book this client at 6:30. People will adapt, and I think it's the posture and how we deliver it. When we deliver boundaries initially, sometimes we do it with the absence of kindness. And it's hard to digest. But when people that you care about, you have to be considerate. That's the whole point of caring. Put boundaries in place, but be cautious of how you deliver that. No, all right, sweetie, at 5 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? Whatever way you have to do it, even sometimes, like I've done this before. I've had work assignments that you can't give it to me at 5 o'clock when I'm about to walk out the door and ask me, can I still process it? So I know that it's going to come, or I haven't seen it. I'll send an email. Hey, Johnny, it's 3:30 and I haven't received such and such report. I have a hard stop at 5 o'clock, so I just want to make sure there's enough time, for me to complete XYZ report. So now I'm taking the accountability off of me and I'm putting it on you. Look, I'm giving you this forewarning. This is in writing. you
Yeah.
know. So if that doesn't, follow through, and now I have to take, control over the decision for me, there's no way for you to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that healthy communication, and just to push the word, honoring your word part, literally, if you guys are not following or listening to Dr. Darius Daniels, he is my online pastor. Okay. My current pastor is Pastor Nate Davis, but my online pastor is Dr. Darius Daniels, and he said something that it caused me to literally ask God to forgive me about
Mm,
honoring word. He said, if your word was a contract, would you sign
mm.
it? I said, Lord, I'm sorry. like,
Wow.
like, if your word was a written contract where you had to sign, would you sign it?
That's good.
We're
Wow.
so fixated on how people dishonor us, but we don't give enough, acknowledgement to the ways in which we dishonor ourselves. We don't give enough credit to that, because see, we can't, when it comes to holding others accountable, it's easy to project that, but it's a challenge, and it takes honesty and that transparency with yourself to say, yo, I'm really violating my own self right now.
Wow. Wow.
So a little bit of disclosure, as I'm hearing you both talk, a little bit of disclosure even for myself, because this topic really hit home for me in terms of like burnout, and not so much just with work, but primarily 50% of it is work. And I wouldn't say burnout with my children, but there are moments where you feel overwhelmed and tired when you're juggling so much as a wife, as a mom, and as a educator, because I work in education. I struggled coming back into work after having my son, and Maya knows this, so I'm going to disclose this, and I'm okay with it. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Well, I'm not going to say anymore, but I'm not ashamed. Um, I went back. I got myself back into counseling, and I have a therapist, and it wasn't for other people, but it was for me, because I felt like there was an imbalance in myself. And it's so funny because I just had a session this week, actually Monday, and it was something that she said to me. And this is like a part of like a strategy that I'm already trying to incorporate now. I'll let y'all know how it's going in the next couple of weeks, because this is something that I'm trying to incorporate. Because for me, every day after work, I found myself opening my laptop. It was to the point where I
Mm,
said to my husband, I owe you dinner, because it was like he was a single father, because he was picking up my son, putting him to bed, doing all these different things. And although my life when I was 22 and 23 with my daughter, I was finishing grad school, I had my village supporting. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that with my son. I want to be present. I want to be present with my children, both of them. I want to be present at work. And one of the things that she was asking me was, and I connect this all into my self care. She was just like, what is it? What is like causing you to feel burnt out? What is causing you to feel overwhelmed? And I just named, like, sometimes it could be some of the tasks that's brought before me. And because I know the type of person that I am, I'm going to do it. I wasn't fair to myself of my own availability through it. So it was just like, no, I got to do this. I got to meet this deadline. I got to continue this. I got to finish this. This got to get done. And she says, sometimes just look at what you have and assess it. Assess the task
mm.
that you have. She said, if you know that this is a task that's going to take you an hour or two, if you don't have an hour and two at that present time, then you prioritize that for the next day. But if it's something that you can assess that could be done in 15, 30 minutes, then you give yourself that 15 and that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're taking off these overwhelming feelings that you have, this anxiety that you continue to carry. And I was just like, And so she
Yes.
kept asking me, like, even at work, do you have 15 minutes for yourself? Do you have 30 minutes for yourself? Sometimes take 15 minutes and 30 minutes, not sitting at your desk because people know that you are there. And they're going to say, oh, well, can you do this real quick? Because you're going to stop what you're doing because of who you are, and you're going to do it.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you might have
Absolutely.
to take that 15 minutes, go sit in the car for a second. Sometimes you might have to take that 15 minutes and go like sit in a quiet office for a second just to kind of regroup yourself. So it just made me think about like the things that I know that can burn me out. I'm learning how to, okay, let me assess this. Is this
Right.
something I can do right now? Or is this something that I can do
Yep.
later and still be able to meet whatever deadlines that it is that I need to accomplish. So it's just, those are my strategies that I'm incorporating now with not just work, but with everything, even when it comes down to my children. Is this something like, Morgan, is this something we need to do right now? Okay, we could save this for later. What do we need right now?
Right.
So it's just, these are the things that I'm just like learning how to assess and incorporate in my life today so that I could be more present with everything.
Yeah.
I love that answer. I always say, like, to me, you're just like super hyper organized, and I wish I was like that. Because every time we're on the phone, you're like either getting Morgan together or you're on your laptop, and I wish you would stop bringing your laptop to my house and on vacations and girls things.
Rehearsal.
I'll be like, is that a laptop? Did you bring your laptop here? What is going on? Rehearsal? You're like, I just gotta send this, and I'm just like, you know.
And I'm learning to stop doing that.
Yes, because we talked about this before. In some cases, we've put ourselves in those positions because we're achievers and because we care about what we do. We want to do well, and we have now shown everybody what we're capable of. We've shown everybody that. We've set the bar for ourselves. So now this is the bar that they expect, when really the bar could kind of be down here. But because we've set the bar here, they're always now going to go here. And if you keep pushing, keep raising that
and
bar.
That's where the lack of respect comes. That's where the lack of respect comes.
Because when you're here and you're like, oh, shoot, I really need to lower this bar this week, or I really need to lower this bar, period, going forward, that's when everybody's like, well, wait a minute, you know, and it could be a respectful or it could be disrespectful. But I feel like because once you show people what you can do and what you're capable of, and I don't want to put it out there like, don't excel, because you should excel. You should be at the top of your game. You want to level up. You want to be amazing, right? But you don't want to burn yourself out. So find that balance of whatever that balance is for you, because that bar is going to need to shift and evolve with you, because you are growing and constantly evolving and transforming, right? And so nothing can really stay stale or stagnant. It has to move and grow with you. Otherwise, you're going to snap if you don't bend. And that's something that I have learned the hard way. Listen, talking about what personal experiences have you had, you know, when you were burned out and how you combated it. I will raise my hand and say I did not combat it well. Like I was overwhelmed, especially the days when I have really call heavy days. So I'm a work from home person, which I feel like is a whole different set of challenges, because while it sounds great, oh, work from home, I can have on pajama bottoms and business on top and, you know, relax on the bottom. The reality is, and when you were talking about when you're 15 minutes for yourself, once I sit down in my chair, I very rarely get up. You know, like I have a home office because I refuse to work from the bed. I refuse to work from the couch because nothing will get done. But once I'm in that seat, it's like I'm getting up to go to the bathroom, or maybe I'll get up to, like, you know, get something to eat. But like, especially on my call heavy days when I have like 6 and 7, and I'm just on the phone from like 8 to like 5, it's really overwhelming. And then if I have to do something outside at church, or if I have to go to the store, if I have to, like, whatever the case may be, those times I will raise my hand and say I'm very bad, and I get overwhelmed and I kind of just shut down. I kind of shut down. I retreat. I won't come out the house for a day or two. I won't run the errands I need to run. I'll push everything off and delay it, and I'll just Netflix and chill on the couch all weekend and be a couch potato and not move. And I want to get better about that. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have mastered that. So I wanted to say that, though, for anybody out there who else is experiencing overwhelm, I shut down. I'm not great about it. So I am really listening to both of you and picking up all these tips and gems too, because it's something that I do recognize about myself and I want to get better at it. But I know that there's other people out there who are probably feeling the same way when they get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I it's funny, when you wrote that, I literally, you know, said to myself, I said, I don't even know if I can answer and say if I handled it well. I realize when I'm burnt out and overwhelmed, I tend to fall into the self-sabotage stage. I start, you know, I'll get to it. Procrastination sets in. Like you said, you tend to just stay in the house and not go anywhere, you know, sleeping more, all these different things, because I didn't really pay attention to the indicators that we spoke about prior. And so then it starts I'm not showing up for certain things or I'm canceling because I don't have the mental bandwidth to facilitate those things. So then people will get offended, and and then that now weighs on me as well because I'm like, I missed the mark. I did this, that, and the third. And so now it just starts this whole self sabotage of just procrastination. It comes off as being inconsistent. All of these things when in actuality, I got to recalibrate.
Yep.
And I wasn't, it's not always because listen, I've been in situations where people have weaponized my vulnerability. And my protection to that has been not to share those moments anymore. And that's not necessarily the best way. Like Manera, I had an amazing counselor when I relocated. She wasn't licensed in this state, and I'll give her a shout out, China Glover of Hope Therapeutics. I believe she's still there, but she was absolutely amazing. Revolutionized my thinking in a lot of things, and that's my thing. Like you said, you kind of become a couch potato. I have the same thing, same exact thing, same exact thing.
It kind of goes into like self-preservation mode a little bit, right? You're just trying to like protect the little bit of brain cells that you have left. And I liked kind of the little subheader we had was breaking through emotional and physical exhaustion. It's like when you were talking about sort of that social piece, and I was thinking actually wrote down social battery can lead to burnout too, is when you always have to be on. Yeah. And you always have to be on 10. And it's like you have to be on for everybody that you come across. That is very draining emotionally and physically. And it's something, it's so crazy. It's like we have these physiological responses for things that are going on in our mind. Like how powerful, if you think about that, you're stressed out, that can manifest itself physically, it can make you physically sick because of what's going on in your mind. I mean, it's crazy about getting control of your mind. It's that might need to be a new MG Live topic actually, is really getting control of your mind and having emotional intelligence and self-awareness. These things are things that I talk about often because they're so important because they govern so much of our behaviors and our approaches to people and everything. Everything.
There's something called, and I've learned this and still am exploring it. It's called biopsychosocial. Manera, you probably are very familiar with that. Basically, when one area is affected, it transcends into all the other things. So if your health is not good, it affects how you present socially and, the mindset. If your mind isn't good, then it can, like you said, affect your health. It affects how you present with your friends and family. And all the while, the nucleus of that is that you're really dying inside. And everybody focused on the things because you didn't show, you didn't, make the meeting or you canceled, and it becomes this personal thing instead of really looking at it from it being a Venn diagram and realizing that in the center is the person and they are dying.
Wow. You know what was always told to me, because that was also my challenge, where it just affected everything. It would be like, oh, you wear everything on your shoulders, and it's like I'm really not wearing everything on my shoulders. It's just this one thing is just affecting so many other areas of me, and I don't like that. It's like I start to become imbalanced. Like I can't focus, and so to the self-sabotaging thing, I have this thing where I close out everything. Maya always say. She was like, "Are you not responding to me?" So I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. So Monday through Friday, I have my work phone because I'm always on. I'm on when I'm not supposed to be on. So I tell my friends and my immediate people have my work phone. So literally, it was just this Monday because I remember. Maya texts something to me, but she texts my work phone. So literally my work phone is right next to me. So my work phone lights up. So I respond quicker to my work phone, believe it or not, than my actual personal phone, which is bad.
And what did I say?
She said her response to me was, "Oh, you responded real quick on this one."
I said, let me save this number and I'm gonna delete your personal number. I'm gonna text your work phone because that's how I can actually get you,
Yeah.
apparently.
And I mean, I'm responding, but it's just I have made like the work phone priority, which is why my mom, my husband, my daughter, like Maya, my two best friends, they have this number, and I'm just like, I'm putting this number. I have like when I disconnect from it, I have to disconnect. I have to get back to the actual priority outside of work, of course, of my life when I'm off the clock. But I'm always
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. But you know what it is too? I think the three of us, we actually have the benefit of actually like liking what we do slash loving what we do. So it's hard to turn that side of your brain off. Like I'm in the
Mhm.
marketing realm.
Yeah.
So everything I do is like sort
Creativity.
of related. Church,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
still doing marketing stuff for church. I'm doing stuff for my brand. So it's like it's hard to turn it off when it's not just a job for you,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
that's the other part of it too.
Right.
Because you care about your kids, you care about your cheerleaders
Yeah.
and the choreography and your coach, and
Kids could text me anytime, and I'm like, I'm responding. It could be like 12 o'clock in the morning. What would she say?
right. You be like, Ma, I gotta call you back. One of my kids is messaging.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean that's a real thing. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you lead from a place, you have a heightened sense of empathy for people.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't want to let people down, and chances
Yeah.
are, most of the time, that accountability that comes into play is because we've been let down. I
Yes.
find that a lot of times our intensity for showing up for people comes from the absence of what we didn't have.
Mm.
So it's like, I don't want them to feel the things that I felt by somebody not showing up. So
Yeah.
I'll go 50 miles for you, but I won't go a mile for myself. And that's the
Wow.
part where the injustice comes
Wow.
into play because you're not being fair to yourself. And at the end of the day, like my wife used to have, she has this saying, who takes care of the caregiver?
Mm.
Although caregiver may be, taking care of someone who's ill or things of that nature, but we're all caregivers because we give from our heart, from our creativity, our time. So we're always nurturing someone else. So that's, to me, I put that in the same category as being a caregiver. And who cares for the caregiver? The caregiver has to care for the caregiver. The
Wow.
plight of caring is caring itself.
I mean, they tell you if you're on an airplane, put your own oxygen mask on before you help other people, because you're not going to be able to help anybody else if you're
Yeah,
passed out.
exactly.
Mhm.
So, words to live by right there. But I want to get into the spiritual side of this,
Yes.
right? So, resetting spiritually a little bit, what does the Bible tell us about burnout slash getting rest, right? Slash caring for ourselves. Derek, you want to have any thoughts around that?
Oh man. All right, so we
You're
whew,
like, I have thoughts. Which would you like me to share?
well, you know what? I this has been about a year and a half, 2 years. I went on an exploration of grace
Mm,
and what it was spiritually, naturally, and it changed my life completely. I would encourage anyone who is experiencing burnout. Chances are, when people are burnt out, there's anger, there's resentment, there's all these different things that come into play with that. And I think if you take an exploration of grace, you will find
mm,
forgiveness. You will
mm,
find forgiveness. You'll find yourself. You'll find the role that you played in the story. And and it's so funny. This scripture actually came up on the Bible app, some time ago, and I have that in my notes as well. It says Psalms 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and
mm,
save those who are crushed in spirit. So when we're dealing with burnout, we got to that is our indicator right there. A lot of times that we need a spiritual presence because we
yeah.
forget that we didn't create ourselves.
Right.
As awesome and powerful and as much a forward thinker as we are, we did not create ourselves, and we are powerful. All of this right here is synergy, but we got to plug in to Him. When we feel that distance, we feel like the Lord is far. It's time to really stop and allow Him to minister to your broken heart. And that kind of segued me into Luke 15 and the third verse, where it talks about leaving, how He leaves the 99 to find the one. When you really realize that in your burnout, that God is still searching for you, He's still available for you, and He wants to refresh your mind and your heart, it changes your outlook on it. Because, and this is the thing, you know, typically with burnout, it'll also create a point of isolation.
Yes.
Well, like we talked about, we self-sabotage. We go into our corners. We lick our wounds and all these different things. And, you know, we think about our inadequacies, you know, because I'm a strong believer there is the confidence that we portray to others, and then there's the confidence that we portray to ourselves in the mirror. And sometimes they don't match. They don't match. We won't let people know what that mirror really says, because we'll go out there, hey, you know, I'm this, I'm that, you know, I got this, and da, da, da. We'll put all of this on and wake up every morning and look at the mirror and won't say one nice thing to ourselves.
Wow.
One nice thing. But here we are, right, in Luke 15 and 3. It talks about how He leaves the 99 to find the one. The 99 is all grouped together, and you're just the one. And
Right.
He cares enough about you to go and find you, because that's how much He cares about you. And people get caught on the 99 and leaving the one, but I'm going to take it a little bit further. I encourage everyone who ever questioned if the Lord really loves them to really explore Luke 15, because outside of Him leaving the 99 to find the one, it says that He will go and find you. We're talking about God the Father, who knows all things. He doesn't have to look for you. He knows where you are, but He is so loving and so caring about your emotions. He will play hide and seek with you
Wow.
so that you can experience what it is for the all-powerful, almighty God to chase you, because He knows that you need it.
He still
You
performs
need
the
it.
search. Wow.
Hold on, but let me put this a little bit further. After He finds you, in Luke 15, it says that He will pick you up and throw you over His shoulder.
Derek, stop.
You gotta stop.
I
Yo, okay.
I'm telling, like, it changed. This changed my life. Just give me 2 minutes with this. It changed my life to know that.
I can't be on this live like this. Wait a minute. I
to
can't
to
believe.
know that no matter who showed up, no matter who said they loved me, no matter who said that they would be there for me and they didn't, that God gave me purpose and He cares about me enough to not only leave the 99 to find me, but He picks me up over His shoulder and carries me and comforts me to say, it's going to be all right. And then further in that same scripture, it says that He brings you back and asks everybody else to rejoice with Him because He found you. Now, let me break that down right there.
break this down.
Please.
When God restores you from your place of burnout, He asks everyone to rejoice with you. That's not just by happenstance. It's His way of quieting the naysayers,
Wow.
the people that judged you because this is about the 120th time you were the one. So they're like, oh, he stepped off again. Oh, he did this, that, and the third. Oh, he's dealing with that same struggle again. He brings you back and tells you every time, tells everyone around you to rejoice with you so that He can quiet the naysayers. God Almighty brings you back.
Wow.
And He quiets the naysayers by showing them that He's rejoicing over your return. When God is rejoicing over your return, it does not matter what anybody else has to say, because we have to talk about the maintenance to this thing.
Mhm.
When it comes to change, there is maintenance. And I listen. My conversations with my wife, we battled about this all the time about the stages of change, because I just couldn't understand why maintenance was the factor, why maintenance was a point. Because from spiritual standpoint, once you saved and delivered, you stay in that deliverance, and that's what it is. And it is so arrogant. It is so arrogant to think that a deliverance doesn't require maintenance.
Mm,
It requires maintenance. And when we miss the indicators to tell us that we are on burnout, we are on E, we have to do the maintenance. We got to search our hearts, search our minds, be vulnerable, put everything down if you have to. It's okay to break down, because the scripture tells us here in Psalms 34 and 18 that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.
wow.
So the 99 and leaving and becoming that one, it's a maintenance factor. He will always chase you because you are valuable. And we have to remind ourselves of our worth. We are so used to giving of ourselves to people that do not know how to properly appraise us. It's not your responsibility to teach them about your worth. It's your responsibility to honor your worth, not theirs. So to answer that,
Wow.
with that burnout, that's your process. It's your maintenance. God is your maintenance. He's your maintenance. Pay
Your
attention
maintenance
to your
plan.
indicators. Pay attention to your indicators. When his voice becomes quiet, you need to quiet your heart so that you can hear more of
Mm.
him. That's all I have to say with that. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
long.
not
I
sorry.
mean,
Know where to pick up because I just got extremely emotional.
Whew.
Um, you just, ooh, you said a lot. In the beginning, you named how the burnout can cause this imbalance of confidence, and that is this is part of the reason why I went back to counseling. I started losing confidence in a lot in a few areas to say the least, in a few areas of myself. Um, and it made me feel like I'm not worth certain things. I'm not valuable. Which if you would have asked me this a couple years ago, I was very confident. Like, no, I know my stuff. I know my stuff. I felt like this. I felt like this. I could accomplish anything. But it was until then I was just like, what is happening? Because every time I turn around, this is falling apart. This is happening. This is happening, and maybe I don't got it anymore. Maybe I can't do this
mm,
anymore. Um, and it made me think about, and I'm gonna be very honest, I didn't think about this question until actually today, because there are a few believers that work at my school, and I had to pull it up while we were on this call, and one of my colleagues actually sent this, so I'm reading this because it was from a scripture. So there's a few believers, and she'll send like motivational encouraging words monthly. Sometimes she'll do it bi-weekly, but it just so happened she dropped this today, and it was such a beautiful email, and she was just naming her challenges of struggling coming into the school year to her ride this morning coming into work. And one of the things that she said, like this school year, and I'm not going to give her name because I don't know if she's watching. I don't want others to like share this, but she was naming how this year brought challenges that she was not expecting, and she's been struggling with the imbalance. Now, mind you, I haven't even gotten to telling her how what I've been struggling with. So it was just like we were so aligned in this. But with her balance between her personal and professional life, she said it became clear to her that she just cannot do it on her own. She said, as she was driving to work this morning, God gently reminding her of these words in Matthew 11:28 and 30. Come to me, all you have labored and are heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls. For my yoke is easy, but my
yeah,
burden is light. And
yes.
as she was like, as I was reading it, and literally I didn't even get a chance to read the whole thing, but I was just walking through the school and I'm like reading my emails as I'm looking at my phone. And I just stopped in the stairwell and I was just like, that just hit me because of all the burdens and things that I was carrying. And even in the moment of like, I'm like, God, I'm not hearing you. Like, I need you in these moments. And then you just confirmed it. Like, I just need to be quiet. Sometimes I just need to sit still just so that I can hear more of him because I'm doing so much. I'm so overwhelmed that is not allowing me to really just sit and hear from God in these moments where I feel like this is a lot. I'm losing my confidence. What is it? So I just wanted to name like this. This is so on point. So I just had my emotional moment, but this was so needed.
That was
Me
incredible.
too.
That was incredible from both of you. The scripture that came to mind when I thought about that was um John 3:2. Beloved, I wish above all things, and this is King James Version, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So going back to what you said, Derek, God actually wants us to do well. He wants us to be well. He cares about our well-being, our health, and that's physical and mental health. And just to kind of go into some of the comments because people, this is really resonating with people, like seriously. Lex, you are in good company. Cry, girl. If you need to cry, you go right on ahead.
Go ahead, girl. I cried on here already.
Hi, Travis. Smooth Travis is on.
Hi, Trav.
Aunt Pat is on. Tata, you're on. Sister Vani is on. We so appreciate you. This is like resonating with everybody, just about the care of God, even when we get wrapped up in ourselves and our activities, and we're very activity-based people. But just to know that if you put those things down, he is right where he's always been. And I thank God he don't treat. I joke with Munir all the time when I say this. I just tease her, but I really thank God he does not treat us the way we treat him. Oh my God! But he is just always right there. Always.
That would have been done with me.
No matter what you've done, no matter whatever you're feeling about yourself. And that's the prayer that I actually pray often is, God, please help me see myself the way that you see me, because many times I do not. Many times I only see the flaws and I only see the challenges and I only see the where I need to come up. And I don't, I was actually just talking to my former manager today, and she was just telling me about like some ways that I can sort of talk about the things that I've done, in relation to like career path and things like that. And I'm like, that's a weakness of mine, because I don't like talking about myself, but I don't think I do a good job either of talking about the things that I've done. I think it's very easy to focus on what are the areas and room for improvement and things like that, but you don't like, wait a minute, I'm actually pretty dope. And like you had said that earlier, Derek, I'm actually pretty dope and I've done this, and this. And so really just not allowing those negative thoughts, that's where I'm trying to get to, not allowing those negative thoughts to overtake you to the point where that's all you're thinking and seeing about yourself, right? God, help us to see ourselves the way that you see us is amazing. Wow.
Absolutely. Bondage is real. And, I think it's easy. Well, let me choose that carefully. It's challenging to rid yourself of bondage from others, but it is so hard to rid yourself of the bondage that you have told yourself about you.
Oh my gosh.
That's a whole different level of exploration. It's transparency, honesty within yourself that like we don't give enough credit. And I've had to ask the Lord to forgive me for the times that I've judged other people's experiences. Because that's just we talk. Our mouths get the best of us. But God has put me in a place, like I said, when I went through this whole exploration of grace, and it really had me to examine and really start looking at the intentions of people. Now, intentions aren't necessarily the guiding force, but sometimes we judge without understanding the background of people's lives, why they are the way they are, what happened to them, where did the offense start? Yep. And when you take the time to explore the possibilities of what has happened in people's lives, it causes you to look at the outcome a little bit differently.
So why
You
don't
know,
people do that, Derek? Just putting a pin right there. Why do we not explore? Why do we not delve deeper? Because I feel like that's something that we all kind of fall prey to, is that first initial judgment of people.
because it takes work.
Mhm.
It's easy. It's easy to go along with the peanut gallery and be like, oh yeah, they this, that, and the third. They did this and blah 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 blah. It's very easy. It's easy to do those things,
Yeah.
but it's not easy to say, hey, what happened?
Mm.
What's your origin story?
Mm.
Let's talk about this. And we've adapted this, cancel culture, if you will, and we're not doing enough credit to put the work in to bring people to healing. We can't. We're not the ones healing. It's God. But what I'm saying is assisting them on this journey to their healing. And all of this matters. How we show up for people, how we show up for ourselves. You know, what we say. The Bible tells us that the life and death is in our tongue.
Yes.
It's not always physical, but sometimes it's our reality. It's the
Yep.
people that we encounter. It's what we say to ourselves. It's how we show up for ourselves. Sometimes we're killing our dreams before we can even put them out there into fruition.
Oh my God.
You do you not? And I had this battle, and actually my wife and I were just talking the other day. Like, I'm thankful for where I am and how things are opening up and going the way that they are, right? And but in my mind, I was like, I could have done this and I could have completed this and blah 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 blah. And God told me, you have to go through that so that you can really understand
Mm.
how this journey goes.
Yes.
And I wouldn't trade one tear. I wouldn't trade one bit of lack of acceptance. I wouldn't trade the intimate. I wouldn't trade the deaths in my family. I wouldn't trade them. Those experiences is what I'm saying, for anything, because they taught me empathy.
Mhm.
They taught me empathy,
Mm.
and
That's
that's
big.
what we give. We got to give people grace. We got to give grace.
I want to talk about that. I know we're like kind of at time, but I need to address this question, Moo, that you put in there. And then I have a question for both of you, kind of maybe controversial. Um, but Moo, you said, what steps can you take to maintain a positive outcome when you feel a sense of anxiety and burnout altogether? So what would you say to somebody who's feeling that?
I think this goes back to, and I think I wrote this around the time that it was like after my session with my therapist. Um, it's me assessing everything in my life in terms of like what is priority and what isn't. And I think for me was also being able to disconnect from things, so I could be more present because of the
Mm.
fact that I haven't been present in everything. Like I'm present, but I'm not fully there. I was not there. So I think for me it's just, I mean, this is something that I'm already doing now, and this is just, and I'm centering everything around work. Is that because I was opening my laptop every night to do everything, I said I'm not doing this anymore. So now I'm only going to commit to opening my laptop 2 days out of the week, and that's Sunday, right before I go back to work, for anything that I need to take care of at the start of the week, anything that needs to be taken care of midweek, anything that needs to be taken care of at the end of the week. So that it has been like my commitment so that I can be able to be more present here, so that people aren't so much offended because I'm not able to celebrate them in certain things or be present for
Yeah.
them because I want to be present for other people,
Yeah.
but I'm so burnt out. And when I'm burnt out, I disconnect. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit. Sometimes I'd be like with my son, he banging everything and the banging get on my nerves. And I'm just like, I'm gonna just let him bang. because, because I'm so burnt out that I just cannot address this right now. So I'm just learning how to incorporate these things with those boundaries. And I think it just goes back to the beginning of establishing those clear boundaries of how I am creating those positive outcomes and I can balance everything all together. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a sunny week for an entire week. But at least I know that when it's like a hard day, I'm like, okay. My therapist asked me, she says, what is how do you decompress? Like when do you get time to like decompress in a day? I used to wonder as a kid, seeing my mom, she probably is gonna see this live later, like you were talking about me. She used to do this a lot and I couldn't understand it, but I realized like as a 30-something-year-old woman, I'm not gonna put my age out there yet, but as a 30-something-year-old woman, close to 40, I realized I am doing the same thing that my mom did. So my mom was a heavy coffee drinker and she's still a heavy coffee drinker. And now I have become a heavy coffee drinker.
Guilty as charged.
Listen, I love me. First of all, when I came home, I poured me a cup of coffee. Maya bought me a Keurig like a few years ago. So I made me a cup of coffee when I came home. But my son wakes up very early. So I started learning to like, let me try to wake up before him. So I could just have a moment to myself because when he wakes up, I'm on mommy mode.
Yeah,
It's work mode. Yeah. Then it's like I don't get a chance for myself. So now when I wake up, I sit in the living room. It's still dark. It's still dark outside. The sunlight didn't come on, and I'm just sitting here, quiet, with a cup of coffee. And there are times where I just kind of play a little bit of worship music or some like relaxation music from YouTube with the little fireplace on my TV. And I'm like, this is just peace. I could think this is just my moment to myself. And there's times if I leave work early for whatever reason, and my husband's like, "You gonna go get the baby?" No, you go get him. I'm going home to have an hour to myself.
Listen.
So I mean, those are my moments where I decompress, and that's how I create these positive like moments so that I can have a better outcome, so I don't feel burnt out, so I don't feel this level of anxiety. And then taking that 15 minutes when I'm at work, even if it's 15 minutes, I learned that what I'm also incorporating from just the last session with my therapist, I'm no longer eating my lunch at my desk.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I stopped doing that a long time ago.
I'm gonna go take my little 30 minutes and go eat it somewhere else. Like I can't because I'm going to, unless like there's something, if I have that 30 minutes, I'm going to go heat my lunch and I'm just going to take a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I learned, just like you said, that some of my avoidant behaviors were derivative from being overstimulated.
Yes.
I mean, there's text messages, there's emails, there's, inboxes, I got to send invoices and all these different things. And, you got kids and, balancing the things of marriage. Sometimes that shut down, you develop these avoidant behaviors and you don't even realize that you're doing it, but you're overstimulated. So your body just like it turns off.
Definitely.
And we've had those conversations in my household as well because, and I think it's a thing with, I hate to, but I think it's a thing with women especially. Like when you guys come in the door, you're like, I got to do this, got to do that, da 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 da, blah 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 blah, and there's no off switch because things just got to get done. And when the kids, especially when they were younger, my wife would walk in the door, she still have her bag on her arm and coat, and she's taking this out the refrigerator and putting this over here, taking this over here. Like I'm like, take your coat off, like put your bag down, put your shoes, whatever you got to do, like what I mean. And now for me, on the other hand, I'm very big on compartmentalizing. So sometimes before I even when I get home, and this is because the kids are now older, so I can communicate more with them and say, hey, do this, do that, blah 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 blah. But when I pull up in the driveway, I sit in that car for 30 minutes.
Listen,
an hour. That is self-care for me.
That is a good one. Don't get out the car so quickly.
Right. I just sit there. And, Lord help me. Sometimes it might be with a little snack or something, But I'm very good on compartmentalizing. But then I have to watch it too because sometimes that'll seep into my procrastination, But compartmentalizing, and another point that I have wrote down, which I think fits a lot with what you're saying, Manera. I was going to call you Mo, but we're being professional. But
Listen,
It's delegating responsibilities.
Yeah.
I'm
I
bad.
struggle with that.
I'm bad.
I'm bad at that too. Because I know I'm going to get it done.
I'm gonna get
And
it
if
done.
I hand it to you, you're not going to do it right.
You ain't gonna do it the way it needs to get done. I might as well just do it. I don't got time to tell you how to do it, teach you how to do it. I'm just gonna
horrible
do it.
at delegating. I'm horrible. I
Exactly.
admit.
I'm bad.
But you got,
You're
listen,
bad.
when you delegate it, you put that authority in their hands. It's done. It may not be, as efficient or the way that you think it should be,
Yeah.
but you know, is that a control matter? Because
Yes,
it's done.
It is.
I am
It
a control
is.
freak. I'm
It
raising my
is.
hand.
It is a strong control
Raising my hand.
matter. It's a yes. Yes.
Yes.
I think that also comes from because and I'm gonna say this, Maya, because we are only children. Derek, if you didn't know, we
Wait
are
a
both
minute.
only children, but she's more of the brat than I am, but she'll
I
say
feel
me.
attacked right now.
So
Very-
I think that also comes from, and this is just in my belief, I think it also comes from this place of like being very independent. So it's like I don't need you to do it.
That's what you say. But people, I find a lot of people who say they don't need you to do it, wish that they had someone to do it.
We
I
do,
mean,
but
and
it's
you are
just you're
right.
just used to doing it yourself that it doesn't occur to
this
you.
is
Like
so to as a coming from a single woman to then becoming married, because my husband is also a single, I mean, an only child. We both struggled with no, I got it, and no, I'm good. No, I'll take care of it. That now, this is what we're going into 4 years. We are now coming to the place where he won't ask me; he'll just do it. I won't ask him; I just do it. And then when we realize that we did it, it's like, oh, thanks. Like I needed that. Thanks. So I mean, yes, you are absolutely right. Like I think we tell ourselves that, but I'm learning how to, you know what, just let the other person just do it. But if I have to assign it to you, I struggle with it. You just gotta do it for me.
yeah.
Look, whatever works. Listen, I went from because I've been on my own since practically I was 16 years old. Family supporting the whole, things of that nature. I always give credit for that, but I had a stint in life where I was living in a rooming house. So you know what I mean. So I developed this thing. If, like you said, if nobody's gonna do it, I have to. So that was a thing for me as well. When I first, got married, it was like I don't. I want you here, but I got it. I'll do it. Like there was no room, and my wife did express those very things, and I think now sometimes it probably went from being so independent to sometimes codependency.
Because
So
it felt nice to be supported and have that,
right,
have that
exactly. So so now I'm like, babe, you got it. Okay, all right.
Let me know if you need. No, you
Right.
good. Okay.
Right.
Because she's very proficient in those things. You
Yeah.
know what I mean. And but as we've grown in our marriage, because you said you're 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're coming up on 19.
Oh, God bless. Yes.
19, Derek. Wow.
That's good.
19.
Like for the people that are married such long time, I'd be like, let me just come up under y'all wing because that is good. Yes, teach, like nurture us into that.
That
space.
needs to be
Yes.
a whole live. I need to just have a live with a couple of panelists, married panelists,
Mhm.
and I could just ask y'all the questions because I'm not married. So I'll just ask y'all all the questions that all the single people want to know
Listen,
about.
it wasn't easy. Well, she'll openly tell you, and I'll tell you too. The first year of marriage, we sat down and was like, all right, so you're gonna take care of this, and I'm gonna take care of this, and we're gonna be out. We were done.
Mhm.
We were done. So because when you get married young, and under influence of church, better to wed than to burn. But we haven't learned ourselves. We haven't learned, who we are as people, nor have we processed our trauma. So we grew up together.
I want to get that needs to be an MG live. You just
A
make
whole
it. You just like you're developing and building out my whole MG Live content calendar for me, Derek. You say I'm like that needs.
I need
to be
you to
live.
write these
That
down.
needs to be a lot. Oh,
Well, add this
don't
to it.
worry.
Marriage does not heal your trauma.
That is so true.
It doesn't heal your childhood trauma, it does not do that. Oh, I got somebody, or we just that. It will magnify it because after everything is done, and the bed done rocked 1,001 times, and all those different things. You are going to be faced with whatever you came in with.
It's so much compromising. Like, it's so much
So
compromising.
we're just gonna say that I'm gonna have both of y'all back on. We're gonna talk about a marriage topic, and we're gonna put the
It's
marriage
so
topic together because I gotta ask y'all this one question before we end this live.
Yes, because that'll take us all
because you
like
this is good because you got like newly married to
Yes,
now. You got some
yes,
veteran years in this.
and we
Because
got
I got
people
questions too.
watching. We got people watching too who are definitely is resonating too. So I want to ask you both this question, and I thought about this question like kind of during the pandemic, end of I'll say because it's kind of still, but this whole thing about self care. Do you think self care is like overrated? And I'll tell you why I'm asking that because with burnout, people are like, "Oh, I'm prioritizing self care, and you got to take care of yourself. Got to take care of yourself," and you do. But where I sort of struggled and started having an issue was when it became very commercialized and when it became this trendy hashtag, hashtag self care. And people are doing things that have, in my opinion, nothing to do with self care. And they're like, self care. So, do you think self care, and we know that self care came sort of became heightened during the pandemic, right? Because everyone's home, your mental health is struggling. People are at home with their abusers, 24/7 now in some cases. And, now you're in the same quarters with your kids and having to teach your kids. And it was a crazy time. A lot of businesses sprang up out of the pandemic. But I felt like the commercialization of it is what sort of turned me off to self-care. So let me ask you, Moo, first, and then Derek, if you wouldn't
Mhm.
mind following up. Like, do you think self-care is overrated? And if you don't, what sort of things do you do for self-care to help you with burnout?
No, I do not think that self-care is overrated. The commercialized part of it is like the things that people do, in my opinion, that makes it like this is self-care. For me, self-care doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, I'm going here, I'm doing it. Like self-care sometimes is like, honestly, believe it or not, is, and I'm just gonna name this like Maya, if we go to brunch, that is a self-care for me.
See,
If
and is
there
that
is
self-care? That's what I'm like trying
to
to.
me,
Okay.
because that to me is self-care because all right, I'm gonna go back. Okay, let me just name it. Spending time with my family to me is self-care because ooh, Derek, you said this in the last live that you did with the I can't remember her name, but the young lady. It's
Oh,
like for me, I feel like I can be my authentic self
Mm,
around people that I love, that I enjoy the company. I don't have to perform. I don't have to put on.
mm,
I don't have to do anything. Even down to when I'm in church. I know like I always say like this is authenticity. Like I'm just so pure. I'm coming with everything. I'm not worried about anybody else in the church. When I'm having my worship moment, it's like God take me as I am. This is just I'm pouring everything out. That is my self-care. Once I get home, I'll be like, oh, thank you, God. Whew, I needed that. I
yeah.
need like those are areas of like self-care for me. Outside of yes, you want to get a spa, you want to like that's relaxation and trying to unwind from things. But
Okay. Yeah.
my self-care for me is enjoying being around the people that I love and that I think that I could just be around nonstop all day.
I like that actually. Derek, what about you? What do you think? Is self-care overrated? And if not, for you, what self-care things do you do to sort of combat the burnout?
well, I don't think that self care is overrated. What I think is there's a misconception.
Mm,
We think that self care is always something that is from the place of enjoyment.
Mm,
That's not, yes, there, because self care is the things that you do to build and improve yourself.
mm,
mm,
Sometimes that is not necessarily going shopping or going to Starbucks or those things. Sometimes we got to get honest about what the self care is. Sometimes it is doing things that are going to reflect us and give us that realization so that we can present ourselves in a better fashion. If you, that's like, sometimes you're dealing with, inconsistency or procrastination, but you're going drinking with your friends and saying that's self-care. How does
Right.
that heal that?
Right.
How does that fix that? And that's not judgment. It's not judgment. I just think that there has to be a balance of things that are enjoyable to us, but
Mm,
also making sure that we're intentional about the improvement of ourselves. You know what I mean? Because there are behaviors that will keep us the same. There are behaviors that will allow us to grow. There are behaviors that will also cause us to regress. You know,
mm,
so I think, to me, it is very important, but I think we also have to be honest that self care isn't always materialistic.
Right.
mm.
You
Right.
got to go somewhere where somebody is going to, or something that's going to help you recalibrate, because the
I like
scale goes off. The, the
listen.
scale goes off. I mean, like, you get on a regular scale and that scale already is above 20 pounds, and then you go step on it, that's additional 20 pounds. You go like, no, 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 you gotta recalibrate that thing,
Right.
put that thing back down
Right.
to zero.
Right.
That's also self care. It's not self care may not always be enjoyable, but is it going to put you in a better place? Like you
Mm,
said, Moo, for some people, self care is therapy. Going to the place where you can receive non-biased opinion, where you can say it how it is. You don't have to fix it up. You don't have to make it nice and pretty and with the fluff and all that other stuff. Put all that on there. You could just say it as ugly and egregious as it is, and then do the work and get
Love
the
this.
get the alternative perspective on it, or the possibilities of considering all outlooks on it. That's self-care,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it changes your way of thinking. It improves your way of thinking. So I just think that it's become the sensationalization of that is it's out. It's crazy right now, but it's not overrated. But I think we have to remind ourselves that self-care is supposed to improve us as a whole.
mm.
That's where there's a difference in a release and self-care, and somewhere across the lines, I think we
Right.
mix those. I need to go hang out. I need to this, that, and the third. Have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Y'all know I'll get on that dance floor, big body bends, whole 9 yards, and I'm doing every line dance right along with it. I
Blind it.
love it,
Listen.
and it brings me joy.
Yeah.
But for me, when I think of self care, it's also including the things that tells Derek about Derek.
Mm.
You know,
Love it. Hmm.
I like that. And that helped me. I wrote that down because it's
Mhm.
something that, like I said, the commercialization of it has turned me off of it. But I like that sort of reframing and that redefining of self care, especially in the context of burnout. Um, Listen, this conversation has been amazing tonight, and I have a phone full of notes that I need to just go and sit.
Page full of stuff. Look,
I just need to go sit and digest this.
can't see
I
it,
got my
but
notes here too. I promise you.
page
Man,
full of stuff.
I really, really hope that this has helped somebody. I know that it has because these comments, when you guys get a chance, go back on Facebook and some of these other platforms and just read the comments because it's resonating with everyone. And I feel that this was a very timely topic. Listen, people, we gave you some strategies. Hopefully, you found this beneficial. We got deep for a minute, and it was very much needed on the spiritual aspect. And this might just turn into a part two. So stay tuned for both of us. And I want to thank you, Munira, and I want to thank you, Derek, for joining me for MG Live tonight and sharing your insights, your expertise. I value both of your time, and I value both of your opinions and your insights so very much. And I appreciate it. And I hope that our audiences appreciate it. Listen, people, please do share this live. We would appreciate it if you would just push this out to your personal platforms, get this on as many eyeballs as possible. And Derek, Munira, any final parting thoughts you want to share before we wrap?
Um, I I'm just gonna name like this. I was blessed tonight. This was amazing. This was confirming. It aligned very well with things that's going on, and even just some of the strategies and just your wisdom, Derek. I'm shouting out Derek for a second, though. I'm sorry, but
There we go.
just your wisdom that you bring. I mean, I didn't expect to get emotional on this call, and I was just like, whoa. You have a serious gift that I truly, genuinely admire. Like, I feel like I could sit and talk to you about, I don't even have to say much. And it's like everything that comes out is just encouraging, aligning, confirming. Like I'm truly blessed, and I'm so glad to be connected to you.
Wow. I listen. I thank you guys, for allowing me to be a part. Um, when I have these experiences, it's confirming for me because it gives credence to the 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 childhood and the things that I dealt with growing up because it adds such a confirmation to know that the things that I experienced were worthwhile. So I thank you guys. You guys are absolutely dope, amazing. Maya, you're doing your thing. Like
Yes.
I can't. I mean, it's just so much that can be said, and I just want to thank you for seeing value in me. To allow me to be a part of
Absolutely.
the conversation. Who knew that it was going to grow from just a comment on supporting one of your lives, and we've known each other for a very very for quite some time now, a very long
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And just to see what you're doing, the way you are now walking in your calling, because you've always been dope. You was really serving and supporting so many others, but to see you take charge in your on your platform, your businesses, and all those things, love it. I truly admire it. Munira, just I've watched your story a lot through Instagram and marriage and degrees and all these different things. I celebrate you as well, and thank you for those words. And I mean, we all go back to VJCF. Shout out
Yes.
VJCF. Pastor
Yes.
Gilliard. you know, always home, always love. And again, I just encourage each and every person that is watching to just be intentional about self. We're all striving, as you heard tonight from the transparency that we all shared. This is a journey, so it's always going to be some things that we're going to have to work through, all of those, factors that come into play. Whatever it is, just give yourself grace. If you fall down, get back up. Know that He's crazy about you and He being the Lord God Almighty. And there is always room for us to get it right. So, again, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. So we're gonna have to do a part two because people are asking for part two. So we're gonna put our heads together and chop that up
Let's
about
do
when
it.
that's gonna work.
I'm
But thank
ready.
you all again so much. We really, really enjoyed this discussion and sharing our thoughts with you. And until next time, I will see you all on the next video.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.